You walk into your local grocery store. A dozen eggs used to be $2. Now it's $4. So you roll your eyes at the supermarket, blame the brand, and maybe even tweet about corporate greed. But here's the twist. The supermarket isn't the villain. It's the messenger. If that surprises you, hit like and subscribe, because we're about to break a myth wide open. Let's break it down. Most people think inflation starts where they see it, on the shelves, in restaurants, at the gas pump. But those are just the symptoms. The real inflation? It's upstream, invisible, quiet, systemic. This is what economists call monetary transmission, a complex chain that starts with decisions made by governments, central banks, and international forces, and ends with you wondering why butter costs more this week. Let's use an example. You see the price of cereal jump by 15%. But that increase didn't come from one greedy decision. It passed through the cost of wheat from overseas farms, the rising fuel that powers tractors and trucks, wage increases for laborers and warehouse workers, and a retailer trying to survive shrinking margins. By the time it hits the shelf, it looks like price gouging, but it's just a ripple from something much bigger. Here's the kicker. Most inflation is printed, long before it's priced. Let's rewind to 2020. The pandemic shut down economies worldwide. Governments had to act fast. Stimulus checks, business loans, rent relief, all of it pumped trillions of dollars into circulation. Was it necessary? Maybe. Was it inflationary? Absolutely. Because more money chasing the same goods? That's the textbook definition of inflation. Now add global supply chain breakdowns. Ships were stuck at ports. Factories closed in Asia. Raw materials became scarce. You've got money flooding the system, and nothing moving fast enough to keep up. And then came energy shocks. Oil prices spiked. Wars and geopolitical tensions disrupted natural gas and fuel supply. Suddenly, the cost to move goods soared, and that added cost trickled all the way down to the price of milk in your fridge. Let's look at the numbers. In 2022, inflation in the U.S. peaked at 9.1%, the highest since 1981. But supermarket profit margins? They barely moved. Retailers weren't celebrating. They were scrambling. Because here's what most people miss. Businesses don't set prices in a vacuum. They react to cost pressures. And if they don't pass those costs to you, they go out of business. Think about it like this. If the ingredients in your $3 chocolate bar now cost $2.40 instead of $1.80, and shipping doubled, and labor got 10% more expensive, the store doesn't have room to eat that cost. So the price goes up and you get frustrated. But the store? They're just trying to survive. So what's the real source of inflation? It's monetary policy, low interest rates, excessive money printing, government debt-fueled stimulus. All of it creates more demand than the system can handle. It's also global shocks like war, droughts, pandemics, and port shutdowns. These create bottlenecks in supply while demand keeps rising. When those two forces clash, prices jump. Not because of greed, but because of imbalance. And once inflation starts, it doesn't simply stop. It feeds itself. Workers demand higher wages. Businesses preemptively raise prices. Consumers rush to buy before prices rise again. And round we go. So what does this mean for us? It means we need to zoom out. Blaming your local grocery store doesn't explain why your rent, gas, and eggs are up 40%. Understanding the system does, because inflation doesn't happen at the checkout counter. It starts with a central bank deciding to keep rates low too long. It grows when governments spend beyond their means. It spreads through energy crises and global disruptions, and it lands on you, quietly, consistently, and painfully. Have you ever looked at your receipt and felt shocked, but couldn't figure out who to blame? Now you know. So, here's the real question. Are you reacting to inflation, or are you learning how it actually works? Let me know in the comments. What's one price hike that made you stop in your tracks? And more importantly, do you now see the bigger story behind it? If this helped you rethink what's really going on, share it with someone who thinks the local store is the problem. Because until we understand the source, we'll always blame the wrong target, and we'll miss the signs that could have helped us prepare. Wisdom doesn't come from degrees. It comes from small daily decisions.